All righty, ladies and gentlemen, we're back again. This is episode 4 of Third Floor Theatrics from the beautiful Studio 26 in the wilds of southern Indiana.
So this episode, we're going to be talking about the apocalypse in the first part.
Good positive
Yeah,
subject.
real positive vibes.
Yeah.
And second part, we're going to be talking about TV shows and just kind of TV shows in general.
Right.
So let's kick things off with the apocalypse. I don't think the world is going to end anytime soon.
Hopefully not.
Well, yeah, I really hope
I have
not.
things to do, damn it.
Yeah. But it's one of those conversations that like you can just kind of imagine and be like, if things did happen, like what would I do?
Right.
And like what would the world be like?
I honestly, it's probably one of the subjects I think least about.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there might have been, I think, yeah, I don't really think about it much. I mean, there might have been times when I was younger that I did. I don't know. I think there's always the fictitious zombie apocalypse, like, oh
Yeah.
my zombies
More
are
like
attacking.
more like fantasy.
Where would
kinda
you
apocalypse.
go? And in that, I've thought about that plenty. So go
Yeah.
figure. I've thought about, well, you'd want to be high up in like
on an island.
well, maybe, but then you'd be stuck if you couldn't go anywhere.
Well, if you could make the island like, well, you wouldn't want to go anywhere.
No,
You'd
but
want to be able to stay put where you're at.
But if the island got
it's like
overrun,
safe.
you're screwed.
That depends if the zombies can swim.
Well, or for everybody on this, what if there's people on the island? They turn to zombies, then you're screwed.
Well, I don't know. It's a complicated
I
situation.
would. In speaking of, we'll get back to the apocalypse in general, but as far as zombies, I'm like, okay, you would want to almost build like a tree city, like build your like in a woods, build like
in the redwood forest.
well, somewhere high, you were up high enough where they couldn't get to you, and the trees were big enough and sturdy enough, and you could build platforms and you could build like structures to live with the zombies couldn't get you. So anyway, but that's
an interesting.
That's a
take on it.
different.
I don't think I've ever heard that one before.
Yeah.
But no, we can talk like kind of like the zombie apocalypse thing just for fun. But kind of what I'm referring to is
World
like,
War III.
No, not World War III, but like a more realistic apocalypse. Like say
that's
like
pretty dang realistic. If someone
no zombies
blows up
aren't
the world, no, someone blows up the world. World War III with nuclear bombs.
Well, that's saying if World War III is going to be nuclear. Like when World War II is going on, I wouldn't consider that apocalyptic. Like yeah, it wasn't good.
No, but if you blow the world up, it is.
Yeah, so you're talking about a nuclear World War
I think that's
III.
most how I think nuclear apocalypse is probably what people worried about most, because they're like, if bombs start dropping,
it's realistic.
Yeah, if bombs start dropping, and it's like power goes out, water's down, electricity's down, the cities are burning, and there's like, where would you go? And I heard one time they said that, like, I don't know where I read this or heard this, or someone told me that, you'd want to go like out west to like Montana or somewhere, because there's nothing out there anyway. There's not like structural wise, there's just nothing to bomb out there. There's no, because it's like Montana is, everything's so spread out and it's so wilderness, and they're not going to bomb Montana because there's nothing there.
One of the things
I don't
that
know.
is
That's
kind of like you would think like here in little Podunk, Indiana, like we'd be safe. But the thing is, we have Crane. We have Crane.
Yeah, there's bases around here.
Yeah.
The Crane is huge, and I live fairly close to Crane, a lot closer than you do.
Yeah.
So I would probably be in the fallout zone or whatever. Hopefully not, but
yeah, and that's one of the going on the topic with nuclear warfare. That's, in all honesty, that's a terrible thing, because not only is it so powerful and kills so many people, but like that land is ruined. Like you can't live there. Yeah, that ruins it for hundreds of years.
Yeah, and I think when I here we go back to generational stuff again. When I was a kid, up into the Cold War ended in the 80s. When I was a kid, that was like a real possibility. We were scared to death that the Russians were going to bomb something, and then we were going to bomb them back, and then there goes the world. It's just fried.
Yeah.
And then the Cold War ended. We sort of made peace with the Russians, and then now we're sort of come full circle. Now they're kind of our enemy again,
Mm-hmm.
and now we're worried they're going to blow something up again, or it's South Korea, or it's North Korea, or it's China, or what. I mean, it's like, so. I think the nuclear aspect of ending the world,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, is scarily still a reality.
Yeah. Um, and the thing is, like when you're watching, there's this video on YouTube, and it's comparing all of the world's armies, like
Mm-hmm.
all their sizes, and America's is massive compared
Mm-hmm.
to everyone else. Like
Right.
I think ours is bigger than if you combine the uh second, third, and fourth place.
Yeah.
Like we're still bigger, I'm pretty
Well, and
sure.
that all goes back to who has the most powerful, biggest army is sort of like feared,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a very old school, um, theory, way of looking at things, whether it's right or wrong. But that's like, well, we got the biggest army, we got the best equipment, the best weapons, So it's like, don't mess with us.
Yeah.
And whether that's right or wrong, and I don't know, but that's where that kind of comes from.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So getting back kind of on track with an actual apocalypse, let's say it's not nuclear, where
Right.
we're like where the land isn't ruined,
Hmm.
and let's say it's like an economic collapse, like where just society is like ruined.
Right.
Um, and I don't know, like basic structure of society is just gone.
Right.
Like what would you do? Like say it happened within this next year,
Oh God.
and it like the
Within the
world
next
just go
year.
with say the world just goes to crap.
Yeah.
Like what would you and your family what would you do?
I
What
don't
would be your
know.
first thing to
I mean,
do?
I don't know, because I don't really think about that. I think,
Well, so you die.
yeah.
You
Well,
wouldn't
I mean,
make it.
the common thing is, well, we'd do this. Somebody says, well, we would do this, and we would do that. We'd have all this plan, and you got the doomsday preppers.
Oh, that show got really big for a while. I
Yeah,
think it's
and
kind of died down,
well,
but
the show's died down, but there's still people that live
yeah,
that
for
way.
sure. And those
Um,
people, like, yeah, they're prepared and stuff, but
they're all
they're
kind of
dedicating like their whole life to something that might not
right, and they're
happen.
kind of off.
Yeah, a little bit.
And the thing is, they would be the first ones that would be attacked because they've got all the
At
supplies and
least the
the
ones on the show because they advertise to the world
right.
that they have
If you knew
stuff.
who they were,
Yeah.
um, I don't know. Like I said, I guess it's one subject I don't think about. There's so many things that I focus on in life. Um,
Other than the world ending.
other world ending, because I feel like, I mean, I've had this, and I think it comes from movies and stuff because I'm such a movie nut. I've had this thought that's like, what if you just woke up today and it was on the news? You're flipping through channels, and you hit CNN, and they go, the bombs have been dropped.
Mm-hmm.
You're just like, okay, you're done. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you do? And I've had that thought, like, well, you're just, breaking news. China has launched a missile. You go, oh man, it's like, what are we going to be able to shoot it down? Where's it going to hit? And I've thought about that. Um, I would like to think that someday, hopefully, people will be smarter and will be more peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you kind of look at it like a sci-fi movie,
Yeah.
and you go, there's the sci-fi movies where the world is destroyed, like Mad Max.
Yeah.
Or there's the world that's real high tech and real peaceful, and we're not fighting anymore, and there's no wars anymore. And a lot of people would say, well, that's definitely fantasy because that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, though it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know that anyone other than a doomsday prepper is really. I don't know that anyone's really ready for something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel
Because
like even those people, like they can prepare and stuff, but you still can't be ready
yeah,
for because
because
it could be a million different things that are
right.
wrong with whatever causes the world to go into collapse.
Yeah, I think people need to. We need to avoid that kind of crap at all costs.
Yeah.
I mean, people need, countries need to start getting along. People need to start getting along. We need to quit fighting. I sound like some kind of utopian hippie talking now, but people, it's there's no reason for people not to get along. And unfortunately, other countries are so vastly different than us, and we're so vastly different than them that we don't get along. And we,
And I think Americans, or not Americans, but America is very assertive too. Like
don't mess with us.
we kind of put the foot in the door when a lot of
Yeah.
other countries kind of stay
Yeah.
out of the business.
Well, that's and this we're sort of veering away from the topic, I guess, a little bit again.
Yeah.
But that's sort of a subject that people have talked about for years. It's like, does America need to be the
Deployed
world
in all these
the
countries and
world
stuff.
police? Do we need to step in and go, we're the world police? We're gonna, like there's a war going on somewhere, and let's say
Mhm.
there's genocide going on of a certain faction of people, and they go, well, do we not do anything? Do we not do anything? Do we not step in? Do we not do anything? And or do we step in and say, you guys this is wrong. We're going to stop it. And you got to look at that. I mean, you look at World War II with what the Nazis did to the
Mhm.
Jewish people, and unfortunately, from what I've read, there were people in the U.S. government that knew that that was going on, and they didn't
Mhm.
do anything about it until we got brought into the war, and then it's like, oh, they're terrible, we're going to stop them. But I think there was people in the U.S. government that knew about that, and knew that there was a Holocaust going on, and didn't really step in, and maybe they should have stepped in a lot earlier. um, but that's one of those moral questions that people say, well, okay, there's a war going on, there's a genocide going on, do we need to step in and assert ourselves that we've got this military and we've got this power? Do we need to step in and say, you guys are doing wrong? Or do we need to step back and go, we're not the world police. It's
Mhm.
not our job to fix it. And that's a real moral question. And I don't know what that has to do with the apocalypse, but
Yeah.
but
I don't know. The whole apocalypse thing, like I've always thought it interesting because like you can kind of play it out in your mind. Like, okay, like what would I do?
right,
Like, would I go to such and such and get such and such and hide out wherever?
right,
Or like, would you just stay home and like try and protect your home? And then there's a whole nother topic of conversation. Is like, how do you think people would? How do you think people would be? Do you think there'd still be kind of would everybody kind of turn into
savages.
savages and jerks
Well,
and try and pillage everything, or do you
it,
think a lot of the
it
majority of the people would just be
if
good?
you've ever seen the show Walking Dead,
Yep, I've seen it.
and it's a show a lot of people, zombie fans, a lot of people don't like it because it's more about the people than the zombies.
Yeah.
And how do people in that show turn out? They're all corrupt and they're all killing each other, and you worry about the people more than the zombies
Mm-hmm.
because somebody's got a camp or a base or a town, and it looks all great and peaceful, but there's something going on.
Yeah.
They're not letting people in, or they're killing people. So I don't know. I mean, you want to think that humanity would rise to the occasion, and you want to think that people would do the right thing,
Mm-hmm.
but
I feel like
in reality, we don't know. Would they, or would they become
I feel like
part of the problem?
obviously like the bad people would be bad, but I think you'd have a lot of people that think they're good that would turn to things because they're either scared, they're
Yeah.
hungry, or they just need something.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Um,
if a guy says, "Oh, hey, I got to kill this guy to protect my family," would he?
yeah.
Would he steal? Like, I'm gonna break in and steal a bunch of food. This may be a guy that was a totally straight shooter his entire life, never had a speeding ticket even, but
Mhm.
now the world's ended and it's fend for yourself, and you got a family, and look like, well, I'm gonna break in this place and I'm gonna steal this food so my family doesn't starve.
Yeah, just
Well,
like
that's a moral issue, and it's hard to it's a hard subject to sort of say, what would you do? Would you go, well, we're just going to starve because I'm not going to steal that bread?
Mhm.
Or would you steal the bread so you didn't starve? I
yeah,
mean,
just like in like you were saying in the show The Walking Dead, like Rick at the beginning he was the sheriff or whatever.
he was a
He was a
sheriff, yeah.
cop, and he was a real straight shooter, had a
Right.
normal life, and then as the show goes
Kind of went
on,
nuts, didn't he?
he became like kind of like a savage
Yeah, he
almost.
became
Like
pretty.
he would do anything to protect his group.
Yeah, I quit watching that show probably season 7, but I remember
Hmm.
he was getting out of control at times, and he was
Yeah.
sort of starting to lose it,
Like
which you
bit a
would. I think you would lose it.
Yeah, he like bit a chunk out of a guy's
I
neck and
forgot about I forgot about that.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he went nuts.
I've seen all of it except for the latest season. I think it's still going on.
It's finally winding down. They're
And
gonna finally end it.
yeah, I think this is the final one. So
Yeah,
once it's all released, I'm gonna finish it just to say I finished the show. But it's
I
not near
yeah,
not as
I
good
mean,
as what
but
it used to be.
so as far as that, whether it's a fictitious zombie apocalypse, whether it's a financial, whether it's World War III, whether whatever, yeah, that is an interesting question. Like, what would you do? Like,
Mhm.
where would you go? What would you do? Um, like I said, fictitiously, I've thought of the zombie part of it. Like, what would I do if there was, like, okay, well, you'd want to be high up
Yeah,
where they couldn't
Tree
get you.
Village.
Tree village, or build, almost like you live on the roof of your house, build platforms and live up there or something.
Yeah.
I feel like if you were up high enough where they couldn't get you,
Yeah.
you'd
Have you
be
ever seen the
safe.
movie World War Z?
I have. It's been a long time
And you
ago.
better pray to God it's not those kind of
Oh, the
zombies.
running,
Yeah, the ones
the
that like
flooding zombies, or
yeah.
it's like they're like a tidal wave
Yeah,
of
if something like that happened, the world would be over.
right.
Like it'd be we'd be done for.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's
you better hope that they're slow
well,
zombies.
and that's the classic zombies were very slow, and they shuffled
Hmm.
around, and they lumbered around, they couldn't move, and then later on, way before that movie, they made them where they were runners, and so
Hmm.
they're running, and so that that goes back way before World War Z. But yeah, those the fast ones, the running ones, are like, nope,
No, yeah,
we're
you're
done,
done
we're
for.
done.
Yeah, you don't stand a
You had to
chance.
live in some kind of base or something
Yeah,
that
an
was
underground
so fortified,
self-sufficient bunker.
yeah, where they couldn't get to you. But
Yeah. Well, have you seen all those like they're basically for people with a lot of money that you can buy your seat in. If something ever happens, you can go there. And they're like utopian bunker type things. Like one is like in a mountain, like in the actual mountain. And you can buy your ticket for such amount of money. And if
really a
something
lot of
ever,
money.
yeah, it's like for the rich people.
Yeah.
You can go and everything is already done for you. They're like it's safe in there. They grow their own food, and it's insane.
No, I'm not. But that doesn't surprise me.
Hmm.
That kind of goes along with the doomsday preppers, I think, a
Yeah,
little
it's
bit.
like doomsday preppers, but for rich people.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I mean, I think probably there was times when, like I said, for me when I was younger, and they were talking about Russia has nukes, and it was like, oh, what happens if they nuke New York, or and then you, as a kid, you start thinking, oh man, and you start, thinking, well, what will we do? And I don't know, I just got older and sort of stopped thinking about it.
Hmm.
It's one of those things, once again, where you don't want to say it's never going to happen,
Yeah, and it's like you
but
just have to
you don't
kind of
know.
trust humanity that they
Well,
won't
that's
turn to
scary,
something
isn't it?
like that. Yeah, it is. Because I think I'm pretty sure, like, if everyone launched all the nukes they had, like America, they've got thousands.
Mhm.
Russia's got thousands. Like if we launched all those, like all of them, the world would be done for, I
Yeah, oh yeah.
imagine. Yeah. And those are just the top two countries, I'm pretty
Well,
sure.
they uh I know that supposedly we don't have as in near as many rockets as we used to.
Hmm.
A lot of those were taken apart and dismantled, but they're still there. Anyway, no, I don't know. It's because I think if you start planning too much, you start sounding like a nut,
Hmm.
and then you start sounding like a doomsday prepper.
Yeah. I
Um,
think, in my opinion, I think you should always have kind of like a stockpile of not sustainable, non-perishable food.
yeah.
Because, like, just think about it. Um, like recently with COVID, like
Yeah.
people, like when people couldn't find toilet paper and
They
all
went
that kind of
nuts.
stuff. Yeah. And the thing is, like my family, like we all
You grow
had,
your own toilet paper.
no, we didn't have to worry about that because like they keep that stuff stocked and on hand. Like
Yeah.
we
Well,
have
I
a
think there's a
whole,
lot of people that do. They go to like
yeah,
Costco or
yeah,
Sam's, and they stock up on mass. That way they don't have to go to the store as much. I mean, that's part of
yeah.
that. But
Hmm.
um
But I think you should have a, s- a certain amount of food in your house. Like, because who knows? Like, we could get a blizzard and you could be snowed in for a
Oh
month.
God, let's
And
not.
like, imagine if you didn't have any food in the
Yeah, you'd
house.
have to eat yourself.
Yeah, you'd have to eat the family pet.
Oh man.
And
Um.
so I think not just for apocalypse, but just for things that could happen,
Yeah. Yeah.
you should have a little bit of food in the house, a little bit of whatever, just to make sure if something happens, you're okay for at least a month.
A month. Yeah. I mean, I. Yeah. I don't know. I think trying to have faith in humanity is probably the wrong way to go because we know how people are.
Well, I mean, that's what you
But
got. That's the thing you have to do though, because there's really no other option.
yeah,
And it's not so much in humanity, but more along the military and world leaders, like
you can't have faith in
the
them.
the community of Russia, or Russia just for instance, or wherever in the world, like they're not gonna send the nukes. It's gonna be the people that are in
In
elected,
power.
yeah.
Yeah, the people in
And
power.
you have to trust that those people are gonna be smart and not
Yeah,
do
it's
that.
it's really I think more so the governments than the people. I mean,
Hmm.
I think some guy that's a farmer somewhere in some little country or a whatever, he didn't want to die. He didn't want to bomb anybody, but his government might want to bomb somebody.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a tricky because you could say, well, we're going to go here. We've got this food stashed here. We've got this farm we're going to go to out in the country. There's nobody around, and we've got generators and we got solar power. And there's people who have it all planned out. I'm not one of them. I don't.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know anybody personally that does. I got one friend that's he's not really a doomsday prepper, but I could see him being like, like, oh, this is what I would do, and this is where we'd go, but most people I know don't.
Hmm.
I don't know any preppers personally. Only people I've seen on TV and read about, and
Yeah.
um, let's just hope it doesn't happen. I know that's a very weak, or let's just hope it doesn't happen,
Well,
and it won't happen.
when was the last time a nuclear warhead has been used in like war?
I mean,
I don't know.
World War II, probably. Japan, when we bombed Japan.
Was it?
Yeah, I don't think there's been any use since then.
Well, that's good though.
That's
So
real
that's a
good.
good
That's 70
sign.
some years.
Yeah. The world learned their lesson that stuff is not good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's I'm a big World War II nut, and I love documentaries, and I went to Pearl Harbor last year, and
Hmm.
I'm a big I love World War II history, and so that's if you want to see what the apocalypse would look like, go watch yourself a documentary about Japan after we bombed them because that place was leveled.
Hmm.
Nagasaki and Hiroshima were leveled. I recently watched a documentary about that. When after it happened, we sent scientists over there, and they landed, and they were just like flabbergasted. I mean, they knew what was going to happen because they developed the bombs,
They'd
but
never seen
no,
anything
and
like that
everything was
before.
leveled. And they said, the people were super friendly. Like they knew they were American troops, but the people that lived in Japan were like, and they said there was um, so many people died, and it was just the smell and the body parts and just flies. They showed some old footage, this footage from the 40s, and there's just flies swarming everywhere.
That's insane.
So if you want to see what like a nuclear bomb will do or atomic bomb, watch a documentary about that, and then you'll go, yeah, I don't think we should be using nuclear bombs or
Hmm.
atomic bombs because it's bad. Now, then you can look at it and say, well, it stopped the war, it ended the war with Japan, it ended the war, but I don't know. It killed a lot of innocent people. It killed a lot of kids and women and innocent
Yeah.
people who had nothing to do with the war. So,
Hmm.
but it's a and that's a whole nother subject, World War II or the atomic bomb, I guess. But um, if you want to see sort of what that would look like in reality, go watch a documentary about the end of World War II in Japan, and you'll be like, oh man,
Hmm.
because there's nothing those people they detonated those bombs like a mile or a couple miles above the surface. They didn't hit the ground.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They detonated like a mile up or 2 miles up,
Hmm.
and they kept thinking that somehow that the radiation would drift off. They did. They thought like it would drift away. If something to that effect. They thought it was going to like. And when they got there, everything's just radiated. The ground,
Hmm.
the water's just
That's my big thing with it. Is like,
Contamination.
yeah, like it ruins the earth for such a long time.
Well, yeah, I mean, nuclear power plants, when they have a failure and they leak,
Hmm.
the one in Japan, was it Fukushima? They, it's still leaking radiation into the ocean still. I mean, this is from 2011, I believe. And, uh, I mean, when it works, nuclear energy is clean. It's very clean.
Hmm.
But when it goes bad,
Yeah, and that's a whole
it
nother
goes real
the
bad.
whole nother dilemma is, yeah, nuclear energy is like, it's great. It's a great energy source, but
If
if
it
something
fails,
goes wrong, it
yeah,
goes really, really wrong.
yeah, and then that whole town where that happened is a ghost town, and
Mhm.
it looks like something from the apocalypse. The schools and everything. There's dogs running the streets. Everything is where they left it. They took a camera crew in there, and like the school books are still on the tables. There's plants growing up. It was like a ghost town, and everything is just like
Yeah.
they left it.
Yeah, and like, could you imagine, like, say in our town, we had a nuclear power plant, and one day you hear, I'm sure there was an alarm system or something that went
Yeah,
off. Could you imagine literally getting up,
leaving
leaving
everything and
everything,
never
and
seeing it
never
again.
being able to come
And that's
back?
what they did.
And
That's what they had to do.
that's crazy.
And that's, I mean, theoretically, if you had an apocalypse, it would probably be like that.
Hmm.
You would either stay there and die, or become a nomad and travel and just
Hmm.
travel and try to find a safe spot. Um, well, we're almost out of time on our first uh, segment tonight. I don't know that there's a I don't. It wasn't a real positive
No,
chapter.
no,
But I think it's we're gonna
something interesting to think
yeah we're gonna
about.
and I think we're gonna do various subjects. I think more or not they'll be fun, but that we will have some like this. That'll be a
Yeah.
little more serious and a little bit
Hmm.
more dark. Um, let's just hope that all the bonehead politicians and the bonehead governments around the world get their crap together, and let's not ever have a nuclear war. Let's not launch any more nuclear rockets. Let's quit building nuclear rockets, and let's act like we're human beings, instead of you know warlords or whatever that want to control the earth or whatever.
Hmm.
Let's just try to friggin' get along. I think that unfortunately may never happen, but people need to realize that we got one planet here, people.
Yeah,
We're not we haven't explored space yet.
until Elon gets to Mars, and
Yeah.
then it'll be okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Um anything else you want to put in on that before we move on, or to our
Uh, no, I think we can go ahead and move on. Like I said earlier, the next topic is TV shows, and we're just kind of be talking about that in general.
and this is probably going to be quite a bit more lighthearted in that first segment, and
Yeah,
so
just a little bit.
wipe your tears and smile away, because here we go.
Okay.
Um,
So let's see. Do you want to start off by maybe just kind of picking a TV show and talking a little bit about it?
um, sure. You know, when I was a kid, I had
Yeah.
a million TV shows I watched. Like I was obsessed. When I was a kid, you had all these TV shows that were all like, you had Knight Rider, Dukes of Hazzard, A Team, all these shows that were all they all had a formula, and it was all very much about product. I would say product placement, but you had like a lot of merchandise that went with these shows. There was a lot of
Hmm.
like toys and um
Are you talking about like toys relating to the show,
oh
or
yeah,
toys being advertised
no,
on the
relating to
show?
shows. Like there was all kind of Dukes of Hazard memorabilia.
Hmm.
There was all kind of A Team action figures, uh diecast cars, shirts, pajamas, just um so when I was a kid, the 80s was great for TV shows. They were all mindless, silly shows. Like the A Team, no one ever got shot. They
Hmm.
fired machine guns thousands around. No one ever got shot. Good
Yeah.
guy or bad guy, no one ever got shot on that show. Um, but I don't. Shows aren't really made like that now. They're a lot different. I sort of don't follow TV like I used to when I was a kid.
Hmm.
I just don't really follow it like I used to. I watch a lot of older shows now that I didn't watch when, like, I didn't watch The Office when it was on.
I feel like a lot of people didn't. It
I
kind
think
of
my
blew
brother
up when it
did.
got on like Netflix
Yeah,
and everything
I
like
it had
that.
been on for it had been off the air for several years, and they were showing it on Comedy Central. So
Hmm.
we got hooked on it, and of course, I went out and bought the entire DVD collection, um, and fell in love with that show because
Hmm.
it's one of the best shows ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think when I was a kid, I watched a lot of action shows and a lot of type of shows that were, they all had the quirky characters and they all had an iconic vehicle. They all
Yeah.
had iconic
Hmm.
vehicles. Knight Rider, Dukes of Hazzard, the A Team had a van.
Yeah.
There were shows about helicopters. There were shows about motorcycles, semis. That doesn't really happen anymore. And then I kind of outgrew it anyway. Um, I don't know. I think TV is still one of those things that it's still popular. I think with so many people are being like, well, with streaming,
Hmm.
that's where so many of the younger people or
Yeah.
just nowadays in general get their TV.
Yeah, for sure. Because you can pull up anything you want anytime,
Mm-hmm.
anywhere, as long as you're
And
connected
binge
to the
watch,
internet.
just
Yeah.
binge watch for hours.
Yeah, you don't have to wait till Sunday night at 9 p.m. to watch your show. You can
Yeah,
watch it
yeah.
any time of the week.
So do you have a current favorite show, or did you have
Um,
a favorite show when you were a kid, or?
well, both. And they kind of relate to each other. When I was growing up, I watched like Drake and Josh, Wizards of Waverly Place,
Oh
like
boy,
like those shows, like all kids do. Those were the shows
like all
during.
kids,
Those were the shows that were popular when I was growing up.
which was not that long ago. People, this will be.
Um, but I remember my two big shows that stand out to me that were like, holy crap, this is amazing. And I think they were one of the first two shows I ever watched. Was Breaking Bad and Dexter.
Mhm.
And those shows, I've rewatched them so many times. They're great shows.
Mhm.
And recently I've been watching Dexter New Blood, which is the
Spinoff.
not really a
Well, it's a
spin-off. It's a
continuation,
continuation
right?
of how Dexter ended years ago. I think it's been like 8 years.
Yeah.
Um, and because the ending of it it kind of sucked, so they came back and did the continuation. And so far, I've been loving it. But the thing is, I've been watching it every week, and man, that is weird to do for me. Because usually, if I start a TV show, it's all out. I
Yeah.
can watch it whenever and as fast as I want. But having to wait till Sunday every week,
Yeah.
man, that sucks.
That's how we did it, man. In the day, that's how it was. You had your, Monday night shows, Tuesday night shows all through the week, and you just knew what was on, and you came back every week and watched it. And that's, if you didn't have a VCR and you missed it, you were just lost because you missed
Mhm.
that episode, and it wasn't going to be on again until reruns, and then it was going to be out of an order, especially if it was a show that continued on and story arc that continued on episode.
Mhm.
You would just, if you missed an episode, like, oh man, I missed it, and it was a big thing.
Yeah.
Um, Now people don't really, for the most part, have to worry about that. But
No.
I think when I was a kid, I was such a TV nut,
Mm-hmm.
and which transitioned into movies a lot more. I think now it's probably more of a movie nut than a TV nut. I think now I watch a lot of documentaries and some older sitcoms like Seinfeld and The Office, which I talked about, which I love. Seinfeld is a series that you need to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just giving you advice. I know you've never, sure you've heard of it.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
It's one of these shows that was so bizarre and it's a show about nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. It's a show about nothing. And every episode just is about, it's like, what's it about? It's really about nothing. But it was great, great writing, great acting, great characters. Just ludicrous situations, just dumb situations, just goofy story. It was just one of those shows and I didn't watch it back in the day. I remember it was on when I was in high school. Started when I was right at the end of high school, I believe, and then it ran to like 98.
Mm-hmm.
And I never watched. I had a couple buddies that watched it. I never watched it. And then years later, started watching. I was like, oh, this is what it is. And that was the same way with The Office.
Mm-hmm.
My brother watched The Office when it was on
Yeah.
every Thursday night or whatever it was.
Like watching the new episodes.
He would watch it new when it was on. Yeah,
Yeah. I feel
when
like
it.
a lot of people didn't do that though.
I just didn't because I don't remember why. I just didn't at the time. I really wasn't watching episodes. I wasn't watching like anything current.
Hmm.
And then a couple years ago, they would show like blocks of it every night on Comedy Central, and I started watching it. I was like, this show's great. The writing, the characters.
Hmm.
Went out and bought the whole box set, watched it, and it's on probably every day at our house.
Yeah.
Like we flip on whatever channel it's on and just let it run. It'll run for 3 hours. And I've seen those episodes
Countless times.
and I
Yeah.
still love it. The
Hmm.
writing was so good, the acting was so good, the characters are so just almost iconic at this point
Hmm.
that it's one of those shows that I don't know that I'll ever get tired of it.
Yeah. I've seen it through start to finish probably about 4 times.
Right.
And I haven't watched it in a long time
Yeah.
other than like snippets,
Yeah.
but it was a great show.
Oh, it still
And
is. Yeah.
you
I
knew it
mean,
was based off of the one that was in
yeah, it was the British.
England.
It was just the Americanized version of
Yeah.
the British show.
I've heard the British one wasn't very good though.
Well, I think, that's matter of opinion, but I
Well,
think
yeah.
the thing about it is, the British one is going to be based on uh, more British humor and British life and British terms and British,
Hmm.
whereas ours is Americanized and it's stuff that we sort of know and the way we talk and the way we, so I don't know. I've heard, I'm sure the British one is good.
Hmm.
But
I don't think it was near as popular as
well,
the
I don't know.
American one though. Like the American one blew up.
I don't know how. Well, it may have been huge in Britain, though. We don't know.
I don't think it was though.
It may or may not have been. I don't know. Yeah, the American one just was huge,
Hmm.
and um, now they're still talking about kicking around the idea of rebooting it.
Oh, really?
They've talked about it for a couple of years about bringing, like all the cast have said they'd come back.
Hmm.
With the, unfortunately, without Michael Scott.
Oh, how come?
He says he won't come back because he's moved on and he's doing movies and
Mm.
but everybody else is like, oh, we'd come back, we love working together. It was fun to do. We loved it. It was fun every day to go to work
Hmm.
but it would just be like, but at the end of how that show ended, a lot of those people left the office.
Yeah. And
So they would have to come back somehow to work again at the office, I assume. They would all have to come back to Scranton again and work at the office.
well, I seen a video one time and it was kind of following up on what those people have done since The Office.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sound it made it sound
Actor-wise?
yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of them other than John Krasinski and Steve Carell really haven't done a whole lot.
Yeah, they
and there was a thing with I don't remember the actor's name, but he was the guy that played Stanley.
yeah.
He was trying to
He was trying to get a spinoff of his
Yeah.
character.
and
Right.
the way he went about it was like really weird,
It
like
didn't
asking
happen.
people for money and
It was strange, yeah.
and Pam and what's the blonde girl's name? The one that's kind of snooty.
Yeah, I can't remember her.
The
actress's
the
name,
skinny
but-
girl.
Yeah,
But they like
Dwight's girlfriend.
yeah. It was talking about like how pretty much the main thing they do now, like acting
Commercials?
wise, is they have like a podcast about The Office, and like their life is just kind of living from the name from The
Well,
Office.
this is what happens. You got to understand. This is what happened. This is TV history 101 because I'm a TV nut and I study this stuff and read about this stuff. And so a lot of times when there's a massive hit sitcom like that, that's ran 9 years. And that seems to be, for some reason, that seems to be a magic number. Seinfeld ran 9 years. Office ran 9 years. Everybody Loves Raymond. I think it may have ran 9 years. A lot of these big sitcoms that were like huge. There's always like a majority of the cast that almost disappear after the show goes off. Like you don't see them. They'll show up in a movie occasionally. They'll show up in like a small part in a movie. They might,
well, I know the guy that played Dwight. He's been in a few movies.
he's done some movies. He was doing movies before
Wilson
The
Rain
Office.
or something. Rain Wilson.
Rainn Wilson. He was doing movies before The Office, but he's done, yeah. But see, the problem is they get so people love if it's a series that's massive like The Office was, people associate them with their characters.
Hmm.
So when they go off to do something else, people are expecting, oh, we're expecting Dwight again. We're expecting Dwight again. Well, no, there
Yeah.
was a character he played. So
Yeah, it's weird seeing him in other
right,
movies.
and he did a like a horror movie, not really a horror movie, but it was kind of a, oh god, I wish I knew the remember the name. I bought it. It's actually a good movie.
Is it
Um,
the Megalodon movie?
No, he's in that, but
Yeah.
this was like he played a bad guy in this, and a very serious role, and it's like, oh man. But after I watched it, I was like, oh, it was good. He did great in that. Um, but what happens is they almost get typecast of the character they played, and if they
Hmm.
played that character for 8, 10 years or whatever, and then they move on, people almost like people don't want to see him in another role.
Hmm.
Um, John has done a lot of, he did the two.
The Quiet
The
Place.
Quiet Place
Yeah.
movies, and
He's done
he
a couple action films, a
right,
couple I don't know the
and
word for
Steve,
him.
Steve
He was
Carell,
big before
he
that,
was big
wasn't
before he did the voice of was it Groot? What not
No,
Groot?
that's Vin Diesel.
Not Groot. What is the name of the bald guy in the Despicable Me movies?
Oh, Gru.
He does Gru's voice, and he
Uh-huh.
did that, and then he was doing movies before.
Hmm.
Um, Yeah, that was a great show, and it's one of those shows that will live on. There's more merchandise out now in stores than when it was on. I mean, you go to there's just tons of Office merchandise now.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, it's everywhere.
so that's a great show. Seinfeld's a great show. You need to check that out.
Hmm. And Breaking Bad and Dexter. And another good show of mine is Suits. Suits is really good.
Mhm.
It's about lawyers and stuff, and
Right.
it's great.
See, that's where I'm at now. It's like when I was a kid, I had a billion TV shows I watched.
Hmm.
Um, mainly when I was a kid. I kind of got away from it later on, but when I was a kid, I had every night of the week there was multiple shows I watched. I was obsessed with the TV. It was a TV generation thing in the 80s where there was so much sort of, campy TV shows that were safe for kids to watch
Hmm.
on mainstream, and that's something else that's so different about TV shows like the standards and practices or whatever they called it was like almost like a censorship thing where you couldn't say certain words on TV. You couldn't see nudity on TV. You couldn't,
Hmm.
and now even network TV is as it's expanded to where it's more vulgar and it's more racy and it's more, you know, but as I got older, I kind of got away from series. Like now I watch The Office or I watch
Hmm.
Seinfeld or I watch King of Queens or I watch some Everybody Loves Raymond occasionally or it's older stuff. It's not
Yeah.
like um there's no I mean I was doing the Walking Dead and kind of got sick of that.
I
Kind
feel
of
a lot of people got sick of
got
that
burnt out
though.
on it and
Yeah.
moved. That was a show that I watched every week.
Hmm. Same here.
The
That was the
last
only show I would watch
Yeah, that was like
consistently
and
every
we would
week.
record it, me and my wife, and we'd watch it every week and we both kind of started getting tired of it. We just dropped off.
Hmm.
She has shows that she watches like all the time. She'll record them and watch them when she has time. Not so much me. I'll watch documentaries. I'll watch concert stuff or music stuff or older sitcoms.
Hmm.
Mostly my thing is and I've always been a movie guy, but mostly it's movies nowadays.
Yeah. Have you ever
Um,
seen the old show called Alf?
oh yeah,
ALF. That was that's the
I believe
only.
you have the
Yeah,
series
I
on
do.
disc.
My mom got me into that, and that's
Yeah,
one of my all-time favorite shows. And it's pretty much one of the only shows that's older that I really can enjoy, and I just love that show.
I watched it
Um,
when it was on. Of course, it's about an alien, so there
yeah.
you go. Um, I watched it when it was on. I don't know. It ran longer than I remember, and I don't remember watching it that whole time. I think I watched it for a few years and then just I don't remember watching it the whole time though. It's weird. It's like I really liked it. My younger brother's a big Alf fan. But yeah, like nowadays it's like other than older shows or movies, I don't have a weekly um like series I watch. Like some of the stuff it's on like cable, like on AMC, like Creep Show or something, which is a horror show and it's an anthology. Um, it'll run weekly. But I won't watch it weekly. I'll wait 6 months
Hmm.
and buy the DVD set.
Yeah.
And that way I have it to watch, when I want to watch it, and I can watch all the bonus stuff and the making of and the interviews and um
Yeah, and Dexter, New Blood, is other than The Walking Dead, which I used to watch years and years ago, as it came out on
yeah,
every Sunday or whatever. I think that's the last show that I've watched
you
that,
followed weekly.
yeah.
Yeah.
And because before, like a lot, especially now, like with Netflix and stuff, shows are getting released all at once.
Oh yeah, people will.
Um,
Every episode comes out at once, and then you just
yeah,
binge it. You just binge watch
yeah.
it. You know.
And the thing is, like, I love TV shows, but after I finish one, like, I go through this period where it's like, I don't know what to watch. I don't really want to watch
I think
anything.
you
And it's
know.
like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah,
So it's hard for me to get into them. And after I finished it, I'm like, well, crap. Now what do I do?
Yeah, I think with me, it's like it's one of those things where I I have so much other stuff I'm trying to do with my film stuff and with the Moonlight Films productions and my paintings and just everything else, and then you got family stuff and whatever, and now the podcast that we're trying to get up and
Hmm.
rolling. I think the reason I like movies is because it's even if it's a series of movies, it's done. You watch it, you're done.
Yeah.
You know, even if even if it's like there's a bunch of spin-offs like part 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, even if there's a bunch of sequels, you watch a movie and then it might be a year before the second one or 2 years before the second one comes out.
Hmm.
Whereas a series, it's like if you want to really get into it, you got to follow it every week.
Yeah. Or you have to wait till it comes out and watch it for
and see, I
however
can't
many
binge
hours.
watch.
I can. See
My
when
I
I get into a TV show, it's bad because I won't sleep.
You watch it for hours and
yeah.
hours. I think you've done that
Like
recently.
when I first watched Suits, and even my second time watching it, I would literally stay up all night because it just kept ending where I was like, okay, I got to know what happens next. And it was a real problem. Like I could not sleep
Yeah.
because I just had to know.
See, and I can't, even if it's a show, like for me, I'll buy a series on DVD, so I own it, you know this. And whether it's the complete series or if it's a season, let's say it's still in production and the seasons are just coming out, or
Mhm.
if it's done and finished and it's the whole series, I will watch. I will put a disc in and I will watch one episode, maybe two, and then I'm done.
Mhm.
Now I'm always going, okay, when am I going to be able to watch the next one? You know, oh well, I can't tomorrow night because I'm busy. Well, I can't. Well, it may be a week. You know, so I'm always looking forward to that next episode. But I can't sit like I'll watch, especially if it's a full hour long episode. I'll watch one, two. Okay, I'm done. I'm out. I
Mhm.
can't binge watch. I can't. I have to get up and do other stuff, or I have to watch something else, or I have to go do something. Or um, my wife can binge watch. Like I will buy her series,
Mhm.
and it's like season 4 of something, and it's 4 discs or whatever, and it's like 10 episodes. She'll sit and watch all 10 episodes like in 2 days.
Mhm.
She'll watch 5 the first day, 5. So she's done.
Yeah.
Where it would take me
Months.
a month or 2 months to get through those 10 episodes because
Yeah.
I space them out. I just can't binge watch.
See, I'm a binge watcher.
I don't know if I can't say that's generational because my wife is just a couple years younger than me. So I can't say that's just younger people do that because I don't think that's true. But for whatever reason, I can't. I have to get up and do something. I was like, okay, I've watched 2 episodes. I'm done. I got to go.
Yeah.
And then I'm always going, when am I going to be able to watch the next episode? Dang, I can't wait. But then I just can't. I can't watch them all at once. I just can't. Um, it's just not my thing. But
Mhm.
I think TV is one of those things that network TV used to be like where everything was sort of like the prime of everything was network. Like
Mhm.
all the big shows, all the big actors were network. ABC, NBC, CBS,
Yeah.
Fox network. Now you got Stars and you got AMC and you got Netflix and you
Yeah,
got
the Netflix originals have been really good too.
you
I know
got
you really haven't experienced those because you
no,
don't
here's
have
where it
Netflix.
started. Here's where this started. In the 90s, the networks were still huge.
Mhm.
But HBO started doing TV series.
Mhm.
And they were like you could use more harsh more adult language,
Yeah.
you could have more adult, they could be more mature. Um and that's where it really started with like HBO. And then but see, that was pay cable. That was like pay. That was like if you didn't pay for HBO, you didn't have it.
Mhm.
Then a few years ago, It started a few years ago. It started being basic cable, and that would be like AMC or Stars or what's some of the others out there that you can think of?
See, I don't know because I don't watch a lot of cable, and when I did, I was really young,
Right.
so I don't know.
I mean, but that's the thing. It's moved from network to pay cable like Showtime and HBO and
Yeah,
Cinemax.
and everybody's got their streaming
It
service
went,
now.
but it went from network to the pay cable like HBO, Cinemax, Showtime. It went from that. Then it went to basic cable, which is like AMC and oh, TNT, and there's some like really well done shows on those networks. But see, and they have commercials.
Mhm.
AMC and Walking Dead. There's commercials on there.
Yeah.
I remember Stephen King was talking about that. He said the top line storytelling, the top notch storytelling, is not network anymore, and it's not even pay cable. It's basic cable. It's AMC. I mean, um, so there's always going to be TV shows. I think it's as far as being popular. I don't think they'll ever go away. I think they'll be done in streaming or they'll be done in different formats. But TV, like, and it seems like people go, well, I don't go to the movies anymore. I don't go to the movie theater
Hmm.
anymore. Well, people still go to the movie theater, and they love going to the movie. I love going to the movie theater. So,
I haven't been in the movie theater a few months before COVID
well,
started.
I was at one time I was going to a couple movies a month, especially in the
Hmm.
summer when all the big ones
Me
would
and
come
my
out.
friend used to do that.
Yeah,
At one point, we were going to hang out one day over the summer, and we were looking at all the movies that were on AMC, and we had seen every single one of them. And so we were like, well, we're not going to. Actually, no, there was one we hadn't seen. It was a little kids movie.
right.
I don't remember what it was, but we were like, nope, we're going to see that. That's the only one we haven't seen. We're going.
So you went.
Yeah, and I remember it actually being pretty good, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, we used to do it in the summer a lot as kids, and I was lucky enough to see like all the original Star Wars and the original run when
Hmm.
they were in theaters in the like early '80s, and the original Ghostbusters, the original Gremlins, all those. I saw them, on the big screen, and that was cool. That's kind of veering
Like,
off from our
yeah,
TV subject, but and we'll
those
do.
are
Well,
like things that I think of like older media that are like iconic.
yeah,
And it's
and I
cool that
think
you got to see those like when they came out.
right, it was cool, and I'm glad I did. And I think maybe we ought to at some point down the road do an episode on movies.
Yeah.
We this has been primarily TV shows, but um, so before we end this, give me like a TV show I need to follow, and I'll throw a couple your way. Of course, I've already thrown Seinfeld your way because I think that's a brilliant show. But
Um, well, what kind of length are you wanting? Like,
well, I don't want something that's going to run me 10 years, but
well, have you ever seen Breaking Bad?
bits and pieces. And I know a lot of people loved it. What did it run
Breaking,
like? How many years
I
did
think
it
it's
run?
like 5 seasons.
5 seasons.
Yeah. It is one of the best shows. It's probably the best show I've ever seen. And if you kind of like murder shows, Dexter is a
Yeah.
great show. It at points in Dexter it gets a little slow though.
Yeah. Well, that's
Um,
fine.
but like
It's all about
I've
story
loved,
development.
yeah, I love that so much. So if you haven't seen those two shows, I would definitely watch those. I
I know.
think those are my top
I
two.
know they both. I know both have been fairly popular. I know, of course, Breaking Bad was massive,
Hmm.
massive hit, won
Yeah,
all kind of awards.
and even
Bryan Cranston is an amazing actor,
yeah,
so I love him in
they had
general.
the
But
spin-off show Better Call Saul. I
yeah,
haven't watched that.
it's actually getting
Um,
ready to end though.
it's still going.
I think their final season's this. I think they're filming their final season.
Oh, I didn't know that. I
Yeah.
thought it ended a while ago.
No, it's. I
And
think
then the movie that came out, I think maybe on Netflix, El Camino,
that was a
about
spinoff.
Jesse Pinkman.
Yeah.
That was a continuation,
Yeah.
and it was really good.
Yeah. I'll have to try and check that out. I know it's available as
Yeah,
a set, and I
pretty
know a
much
lot.
everywhere.
Yeah, and I know it was extremely popular. I know the writing was good. Of course, the cast was amazing.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know if I have any dramatic shows. I would say, Seinfeld as a comedy is amazing. I would say as far as like comic book type shows that are great.
There's a lot of comic book shows that have been coming out in the recent
Well, the
years.
two there's one that the Doom Patrol, which is a DC comic. It's very very mature. The language, the situations, it's not for kids at all. Trust me. The first couple episodes, you're like, whoa, it's trippy, it's crazy, but the acting is amazing, the casting is amazing, the writing, it's a head trip. So Doom Patrol's great. It's they're doing their third season right now. Um, Doom Patrol's good. What did I just watch recently? Let's see. Umbrella Academy's good.
I've seen that one. That one's
That
good.
was good.
Have you seen The Punisher? Like the series with
No, I
that was so good, but they ended it. Like
well,
they cancel it.
that had to do with Netflix and
Yeah,
Marvel and
and it's a shame because that show was
well,
it was
the where
gritty and it
that's
was
where
awesome.
that spun off from was Daredevil, which was great also.
Yeah.
Um, we just watched something recently that was a second season or third season. I don't even remember what it was. Um, and it was pretty short, but there's a lot of good. Like I said, Seinfeld's great. The Watchmen are great. Are the Doom Patrol's great. Watchmen was also good. Watchmen was an HBO,
Mm-hmm.
and it's tied in with the Watchmen movie, which
Mm-hmm.
is a DC comic book.
Yeah.
Another very mature adult.
I remember trying to watch that when I was younger, and they told me no.
The movie?
Like, yeah, my family was like, no, you can't watch
Yeah,
that.
the movie's like, okay, this is not for kids. It's a comic book, but it's not for kids. So
Kind
there's
of like how Daredevil is.
yeah, and
Not
once again,
not Daredevil.
Punisher.
Deadpool.
Oh yeah.
Those movies.
And once again, we're veering off into movies, which tells me that we need to talk about movies
Yeah.
down the road. We'll definitely do an episode about our favorite movies, our favorite genres. We'll compare notes on movies we've seen, the movies we've both seen, and movies we haven't seen. We'll kind of hopefully influence each other to watch those.
Yeah.
So, anything you want to wrap up on our TV talk tonight? Anything you want to?
Is there a show you're currently watching?
Currently,
I don't think we touched on that. I know we
just
touched
the
on
old stuff.
just doing the old stuff.
Like I said, every day I'm watching episodes of The Office and Seinfeld, and sometimes King of Queens, which was a mainstream sort of show, but Kevin James is in that. He's great. The whole cast is great. Jerry Stiller, who's Ben Stiller's dad, is amazing in that. He's also in Seinfeld. He's an older guy and he yells all the time, but he's hilarious. Just older stuff, really. Like I can't think of anything new or current. I don't watch any new network stuff at all.
Yeah.
And that's just because I don't follow it.
Yeah.
There may be some great stuff on there, but
Yeah, and see, like it's hard for me to kind of recommend you certain things because, like, I know you don't have Netflix.
No, I don't
and
do
all
the
that.
Netflix.
Yeah, and like there's a ton of good series and movies that have
Right.
came out on Netflix that are Netflix original.
some of those I bought though.
You can buy those.
I think Umbrella Academy was Netflix.
Was it?
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah, and I bought.
Well, I
it.
didn't know. I didn't know you.
They
could do that.
release Netflix does release some of their stuff. They don't release all of it, but they do release some of their stuff. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that was a Netflix original. Yeah, it was. It was a Netflix original. So
Okay. Yeah, because there's a ton of them. One show that's really good on Netflix, it just came out with a new season that I've been meaning to watch, is Lost in Space. And that was a remake of the one that
from the
came,
60s.
Yeah. And the first, I don't remember if they're doing a third season. Like
They're
the
going
third
to
season just came up.
I think third's their final season.
And I think that might be the one that just came out. But the first two seasons were awesome.
Right? They're available on DVD. And actually, I've thought about buying them and never did.
Mm-hmm.
Is that one you definitely recommend?
Yeah, and that's coming from like I didn't even know it was based off of something from the 60s.
Yeah.
I just saw it and I was like, "Oh, this looks cool, sci-fi and everything." And it was awesome.
Well, it looked good. The effects look good. And
Danger, Will Robinson.
Oh yeah, I met the guy that did the original voice for that from the '60s show. I met him at a sci-fi convention years ago. But yeah, it looked good, and I like sci-fi, and I like space stuff. So I'll definitely have to look into that. And I thought about buying it multiple times and just held off for whatever reason. But
Yeah.
so all right, it looks like we're about out of time. Anything you want to wrap? That's pretty much it, right?
Yeah, I think that's it. We got some recommendations out there and kind of talked about our favorite shows. And just want to thank you guys for sticking around till the end. Episode 4. And like I always say, coming out every Monday.